The sky above London was no longer blue. It was always gray, now, heavy with smoke, clouds, and something unnatural. The tall buildings that once touched the sky were broken, burned, and forgotten. Lyra walked quietly through the ruins. Her boots made soft crunching sounds on broken glass. She knew the Thoraxian drones flew above, watching. But she was careful. She always was. She carried a small bag. Inside, there were herbs, bandages, and old medicines. She was not a doctor, just a survivor who helped when she could. That night, she heard something strange. It was not the sound of drones or wind. It was a soft, low groan. A human sound. She turned toward the old subway tunnel. It was dark and cold inside. But she followed the sound. Her heart beat faster. Then she saw him, a body, lying half in shadow, wounded, bleeding. Not fully human, his skin was pale silver. His eyes were dark, glowing faintly. His chest moved with weak, shallow breaths. He was wearing black armor, the kind Thoraxian soldiers used. Lyra froze. Her mind screamed, "Enemy!" Every human was taught one rule: never help the hybrids, but this one looked barely alive. His blood, strange and dark, had painted the floor. He opened his eyes, slowly, painfully. "Please, don't call them," he said, his voice rough, broken. Lyra's hands shook. She stepped back. He tried to sit up, but groaned and fell back again. "I'm not like them," he said. "I left them." Lyra looked around. No one else was here. Why? "Should I believe you?" she asked. "Because I'm dying," he said. "And I didn't kill you when I had the chance. It was true." He could have shot her the moment she entered. "I helped people," he whispered. "Your people. I tried." She looked at his arm. There was a deep burn mark, not from battle, but from torture. Maybe his own kind had turned on him. "If someone sees me helping you," she whispered, "they'll kill you." He finished her sentence. Silence. Then he looked at her. "I don't want to die here." "Not as one of them." Lyra thought of her brother taken by Thoraxians last year, thought of the rebels who were caught and never seen again, but she also thought of mercy. She made her choice. "Can you walk?" she asked. He shook his head. "Not far." She stepped forward. Wrapped his arm around her shoulder. He was heavy, cold, and bleeding badly. Together they moved deeper into the tunnel. The place she brought him to was an old underground room, dusty but hidden. She laid him on a blanket, then lit a small lantern. He watched her work, cleaning his wound, giving him water. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. She didn't answer at first. Then she said, "I don't know." He gave a weak smile. "I'm Kale," he said. She nodded. "Lyra." Silence again. Kale's eyes closed. His breathing slowed. For a moment, Lyra thought he had died. Then he whispered, "Thank you." She sat back, her hands bloody, her mind racing. What had she just done? The next morning, Lyra returned to the surface. Everything looked the same, but everything had changed. Her friend Mara was waiting near the bakery ruins. "You look tired," Mara said. "Couldn't sleep," Lyra lied. "There's a drone sweep tonight," Mara warned. "Be careful." Lyra nodded, but her mind was somewhere else, underground, with the enemy she just saved. That night, Lyra sat beside Kale again. He was still weak, but alive. "I had a dream," he said quietly. "I was flying free." "You'll be lucky if you can walk again," she said with a small smile. He laughed softly, then winced in pain. Lyra looked at him, really looked. He was not fully human. But he was not a monster either. And now their fates were tied. She didn't know what the future would bring, but she had made her choice, and there was no going back. The tunnel was no longer silent. Something had changed. Lyra felt it in the air, colder than before, heavier, like the darkness was breathing. She held the lantern tighter as she stepped down into the hidden room. The flame flickered like it didn't want to stay alive. Kale was awake, but his eyes were not the same. "You were talking in your sleep," Lyra said, setting the lantern down. Kale looked at her, confused. "What did I say?" "I don't know the language," she replied. "But it didn't sound friendly." Kale closed his eyes like he was remembering something painful. "Old memories from the war." "From which side?" Lyra asked. Kale didn't answer. That night, while Kale rested, Lyra sat outside the room in the tunnel, sharpening her small knife on a stone. Suddenly, she heard footsteps, not Kale's, not hers, someone else was in the tunnels. She stood up quickly, hiding the lantern. Her heart pounded. A soft click echoed through the tunnel. Metal on stone. Then a voice, whispering but clear. You shouldn't be here alone. Lyra spun around, knife ready. A man stepped out of the dark. Dirty jacket, hood over his face, eyes shining in the low light. Who are you? Lyra asked, keeping her voice strong. I could ask you the same, he said. This place isn't safe, you know that, right? I'm not afraid. Maybe you should be, he said, stepping closer. Lyra didn't move. What do you want? I'm just looking, he said. For someone who? He smiled. A hybrid soldier, wounded, hiding underground. Lyra's blood froze. Her fingers tightened on the knife. I don't know what you're talking about. The man tilted his head. Sure you don't. He turned to leave. But before disappearing, he said one last thing. If I were you, I'd stop helping the enemy. Before someone makes you pay for it. Then he vanished into the shadows. Back in the hidden room, Kale sat up, alert. Someone was here, he said before Lyra could speak. She nodded. He knows. He's looking for you. Kale looked down. Then you're in danger now. I already was. Kale tried to stand, but his legs were still weak. We have to leave this place. Where will we go? Lyra asked. There's no safe place left. Kale looked at her with serious eyes. There is, but it's far, and we'll be hunted. The next morning, Lyra returned to the surface to find Mara. Waiting again. Where were you last night? Mara asked. Home. Why? There's a man asking questions in the west sector about hybrids. Lyra felt a chill. Did he say why? Mara nodded slowly. He said someone in this town is hiding one. Said the Thoraxians are offering a reward. Lyra looked away. Mara leaned closer. You'd tell me if you knew anything. Right? Lyra forced a smile. Of course. But inside, her mind was racing. She was being watched. And soon they would find Kale. That night, Lyra packed what little she had. Some food, water, her knife. Kale was stronger now, still limping, but walking. We leave before sunrise. She whispered. Kale nodded. But as they reached the tunnel exit, Kale suddenly froze. What is it? She whispered. He pointed. Footprints, fresh ones. Leading into the tunnel. Someone was inside. They rushed back down. Too late. The hidden room had been touched. The blanket was moved. A mark was scratched into the wall, a symbol Lyra didn't understand, but Kale did. Thoraxian code. He sighed. They know. Lyra looked at him. We have to run now. Kale's face was grim. They won't stop now. Not until one of us is dead. Lyra took a deep breath. Her heart was beating like a drum. She had started this with a choice. Now, there was no way back. The trap didn't look like a trap. It looked like hope. A message had arrived, scratched on the back of a tin can, thrown into the tunnel entrance where Lyra passed each day. Safe place, rebel camp still alive. East side sewer, come before sunset, bring him. Lyra didn't know who sent it. There was no name. Just a symbol, a broken star. Only rebels used that mark. Kale read the message twice. Could be real, he said. Could be a lie, Lyra replied. He looked at her. Isn't that true of everything now? They moved quickly through the ruins of the old city. It was nearly sunset. The air smelled like smoke and metal. Lyra guided Kale through a half-buried tunnel under cracked roads and silent buildings. Every shadow felt alive. Every sound could mean danger. She hadn't told Mara. She hadn't told anyone. The fewer who knew, the safer it was. Or so she thought. The sewer entrance was deep underground, covered with rusted metal bars. Kale moved. First, no cameras, no guards. That's strange. Lyra climbed down behind him, her hand always near her knife. They walked for 10 minutes. Water dripped from the walls. Rats scurried in the dark. Then they saw it. An old gate, half open. A red flare glowed faintly inside. Lyra stepped through. That's when the gate slammed shut behind her. Kale turned too late. The flare turned blue, and a voice echoed from the darkness. Found you. Bright lights flashed. Soldiers appeared. From the shadows, not human, Thoraxian units. Their silver eyes shone like fire. Kale grabbed Lyra and pushed her behind a pipe. Laser blasts cut through the air. He fired back with a stolen human blaster, but he was outnumbered. Lyra shouted. "This was a trap," Kale growled. "We were followed. Someone gave us up. Who?" Kale didn't answer. He just kept firing until the battery died. They ran through tunnels, side paths, old sewer lines. Behind them, the Thoraxians chased, silent, fast, deadly. They barely escaped. Climbing out through a broken storm drain near the edge of the city, Kale collapsed. Bleeding again, Lyra dragged him into a dark alley and checked the wound. "We can't go far," he gritted his teeth. "We need shelter." "Where? We have nothing left." He looked at her with tired eyes. "You have one friend, don't you?" Lyra stared at the door for a long time before knocking. Mara opened. Her face was calm, too calm. "Lyra," she said softly. "I was wondering when you'd come." Lyra stepped inside with Kale. "We need help, please, just for a night." Mara looked at Kale. "You brought him here?" "He's not what?" "They say," Lyra said, "he helped humans." "He left the Thoraxians." Mara smiled faintly. "Of course. You trust him." Kale watched her carefully. Then he said, "You're the one who sent the message." Mara turned slowly toward him. "Smart hybrid." Lyra's stomach dropped. "No." "You?" Mara sighed. "You think I wanted this war? I lost my family too, but the Thoraxians, they don't kill if you work with them. They reward loyalty." Lyra stepped back. "You betrayed us," "I survived," Mara said coldly. "And now, so can you, if you hand him over." Kale pulled out a blade. "You'll have to take me." Mara shook her head. "I don't need to. They're already on their way." From outside, the sound of boots, many. Kale looked at Lyra. "We fight." Lyra shook her head. "No, we run." "But there's no way out." "Yes," she whispered. "There is." She opened the old basement hatch behind Mara's storage. Crates. It led to an ancient water pipe, forgotten even by the city maps. They escaped through the darkness once again, this time with nothing but the clothes on their backs. Behind them, Lyra's last friendship burned to ash. As they reached the edge of the dead forest, Kale stopped. "I should have died in that sewer," he said. "She almost had us." Lyra looked at him. "We don't die that easy." Kale turned to her. "You could have left me. I didn't." "Why?" Lyra stared into the night. "Because the world doesn't need more killers. It needs someone who remembers how to save." Kale looked down. For the first time he said nothing. Behind them, the city was hunting. Ahead of them, the unknown. But they kept moving forward. Together. The desert wasn't always a desert. Long ago, this land had trees, rivers, and songs. Now it was just dust. Dry wind and silence. Lyra walked ahead, her scarf over her face, sand in her boots, pain in her legs. Behind her, Kale limped slowly. One hand pressed over his side. The wound from the sewer was getting worse. They hadn't eaten in 2 days. The sun was setting, red and angry. Still, they kept walking. "Why here?" Lyra asked. Kale pointed toward a large rock formation in the distance. Old rebel outpost. Abandoned, maybe. Still better than dying in the open. As they walked, Lyra heard a strange sound. A low hum, mechanical, slow. Steady. She stopped. Kale stopped too. The Raxian scout drone floated silently above the rocks. Watching, waiting. Then it turned and flew away. "They saw us." Kale said that night they found the outpost. It was deep inside the rocks, half covered in sand. Just enough to hide. Inside, it smelled of rust and time. There were old blankets, empty crates, and a broken radio. Kale collapsed. His breathing was sharp now, shallow. Lyra knelt beside him. "You need help? Medicine? Real medicine?" Kale laughed weakly. "Do you have some in your pocket?" "No." "Then we wait." Lyra clenched her fists. She looked at the broken radio. Then at the sky. There was only one way to save him now, but it came with a cost. In the morning, Kale was unconscious. Lyra walked out into the open desert, holding a small flare she had never wanted to use. She lit it. It glowed bright red. A signal known by only one group. TAXIAXINs. Hours passed. Black ship appeared on the horizon, silent, smooth. It hovered above the ground, then slowly landed. 3 figures stepped out. Tall, silver-skinned, eyes like glass. One of them spoke in perfect human English. "You called for us?" Lyra nodded. "I have something you want." "And what do you want in return?" She took a deep breath. "Mercy." The Thoraxian looked amused. "For him?" Lyra didn't answer. The alien's head tilted. "We will take him. You will not see him again. He needs healing. We can do that. But you won't." The alien smiled faintly. "Unless you give us something." "What?" "Names, locations, the remaining rebels." Lyra looked down. "I don't have that." "Then give us this place," the alien said. "Let us find who comes here." Lyra stared at the sand. This was a deal with the devil, but Kale was dying, and she couldn't watch him die. She led them to the cave. The Thoraxians took Kale without a word. One of them turned to Lyra. "You may go." This time. Lyra stood there as the ship rose and disappeared into the clouds. She was alone again. Days passed. No news. No voice, no trace of him. She returned to the ruins. Lived in silence. Waited. Every morning, she climbed to the hilltop and looked at the sky, hoping, hating herself. One night, a voice came from the shadows. "You shouldn't be here." It was Mara. Lyra turned, surprised. "I thought you left with your new masters," Lyra said coldly. "I did. But I keep an eye on you. For them, then kill me, if that's the plan." Mara stepped closer. "They say he's alive." Lyra's eyes widened. "Kale?" Mara nodded. "They kept him. He's changed. Not like before." "What do you mean?" Mara leaned in. "They're doing something to him. Making him into something else." Then she walked away, her words like poison in the air. That night, Lyra sat alone. Under the stars, she remembered Kale's voice, his kindness. His pain. She had saved him once, but at what price? She didn't know if he would ever come back, or if the person who returned would still be him. Time didn't stop. It just stopped meaning something. 5 years had passed, but Lyra still woke up every day like the war had just ended, and no one had won. The cities were mostly dust now. The rebels had scattered. The Thoraxians ruled from the shadows. Their ships came and went like ghosts, but there were no more sirens. No more bombs. Just silence. Lyra lived alone in what used to be a library. The books were mostly burned, but the stone walls kept out the wind. That was enough. She spoke to no one. No one came looking for her. No one. Except memory. She still dreamed about that day. The desert, the flare, the ship. Kale. She remembered the way they took him, like he was cargo, like he didn't matter, and she remembered how she let them, because she had no other choice, or maybe she just couldn't let him die. Every year on the same day, she climbed the old tower in the center of the ruins. It was broken, half collapsed. But from the top, you could see the whole wasteland. The wind there spoke to her. Or maybe it was just the guilt. This year was no different, until it was. As the sun dipped low behind the clouds, Lyra saw something strange in the sky. Not a drone, not a Thoraxian warship. It was too quiet. Too small. Too slow. A dark, narrow ship, like a blade cutting through the clouds, floated above the hills, then disappeared behind the rocks. Her heart skipped. No one flew here anymore, unless... No, she shook her head. "Don't be foolish," she whispered to herself, but that night someone knocked on her door, not loud, not desperate. Just calm. Like they knew she would open it. She reached for her knife and cracked the door. A hooded figure stood outside. Human, but strange. Wearing smooth black fabric, no dust, no fear. He handed her a silver disc. No words. No threat, just a look, almost respectful, and then he walked away into the dark. She closed the door and stared at the disc. It hummed softly, then projected a small blue light. Kale's voice came through. "Lyra, if you're hearing, this means I've come back, but I'm not the same. I don't know what they've done to me, but I remember you. I remember the desert, the choice. I need your help again. one last time. Lyra sat frozen, 5 years of silence broken by 10 seconds of sound. Cale was alive, and he was coming back. But why now? And what had they done to him? The next morning, she left the library. She wore her old coat, the one with burn marks and hidden pockets. She carried her knife, the same one that once saved Cale in the sewers. And around her neck, she wore the disc like a charm. The wind was stronger today. So was her heart. She was going back to the desert. By nightfall, she reached the place where they last stood together, the broken rebel outpost. It hadn't changed, but something was waiting there, a ship. Dark, silent, half buried. In the sand, the back ramp was open. She stepped inside. Her footsteps echoed in the cold metal hallway. Then she saw him. Cale. Standing at the far end. His back to her, he turned. His face was the same, but not. The eyes glowed brighter now. His skin looked smoother, colder, less human. But when he spoke, "You came." Lyra stared. "What have they done to you?" Cale looked down. "They rebuilt me. They made me stronger. But they couldn't take you out of my mind." She took a step forward. "Why now?" Cale's voice lowered. "Because the war is starting again, and this time, I know how to win." He remembered her name, but not his own heartbeat. That's what scared Lyra the most. Cale stood there, silent, strong, but too still. Too perfect. His body moved like a human, but his presence felt heavier, like something inside him wasn't entirely alive anymore. They sat inside the ship, in a small metal room with glowing walls. No windows, no chairs. Just a strange hum in the air. Lyra broke the silence. "What did they turn you into?" Cale looked at his hands. They were no longer scarred, no bruises. Just smooth skin, metallic veins under the surface. "They called it a merge program," he said quietly. "Half mind, half machine, all control. Did you agree to it?" "I didn't have a choice. I was dying." "You gave me to them, remember?" Lyra flinched. He wasn't angry, but the words hit hard. Cale continued. "They saved me and rebuilt me into something that obeyed. For years I followed every command without question. Until now?" she asked. He nodded. "Because something came back. A memory, your voice." Cale stood and walked to the far wall. It opened with a soft hiss, revealing a group of people inside the ship. Not soldiers, not Thraxians, not fully human, a mix of survivors. Some with cybernetic arms, some with glowing eyes. Some looked like Cale, hybrids, changed, modified. "This is my crew," Cale said. "We escaped together," Lyra stared. "Escaped from what?" He looked her straight in the eyes. "From the mind net, from their control." They gathered around a table where Cale pulled up a hologram of Earth, glowing red in several areas. He pointed to one place. A tall, pulsing tower in the old capital. "That's their control tower," he explained. "It sends a signal to all merged units, keeps them in line. Without it, they go free or go mad." Lyra frowned. "And you want to destroy it?" "Yes." "How?" Cale looked at her. "With your help." She laughed once, short, bitter. "You think I can help?" "With this? I'm not a soldier. I don't have weapons." Cale stepped closer. "You have something they never could create. Choice, trust, a voice they can't erase." Lyra looked at his team, tired eyes, broken bodies, but burning with purpose. "Even if we reach the tower," she said, "how do you shut it down?" Cale paused, then said quietly, "I don't." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" Cale lowered his voice. "I am the key. I was built to connect with it, to feed it. I can enter it and shut it down from inside." Silence. "But," Lyra said slowly, "you won't survive that, will you?" Cale didn't answer. That was her answer. She stepped away from the table, her thoughts spinning. She had already let him go once, saved him by giving him to the enemy. Now he wanted her to let him go again, to destroy the enemy. Was this his fate, or just the last thing they'd programmed him to do? That night she stood alone in the hallway of the ship, staring at the stars through a small crack in the ceiling panel. Cale walked up behind her. "I thought you hated me," she said softly. "I did. For a while," he replied. "But then I remembered why you did it. Why? Because you believed I was more than what they made me. She looked at him. Are you? Kale's eyes glowed dimly. I don't know yet. Outside, the ship began to rise. Engines humming. Wind blowing across the desert ruins. The final journey had begun. They were going back. Back to the city where it all started. Back to the tower. Back to the choice that would decide not just Kale's fate, but the fate of every hybrid. And, every human still watching the skies. Asterisk, some endings don't feel like endings. They feel like the beginning of something we may never understand. The sky above the dead city was darker than usual. No stars, no clouds. Just a thick silence, like the world itself was holding its breath. Lyra stood on the roof of a broken skyscraper, watching Kale's ship hover in place over the capital. The control tower stood in the distance, tall and pulsing like a heartbeat. It wasn't made of stone or steel. It looked alive, built with strange alien metal that shimmered, even in the dark. Inside that tower was a mind. A system. And Kale was going to enter it, to destroy it or to lose himself forever. Once I go in, Kale said, You can't pull me out. Lyra didn't respond. She just stared at him, like she was trying to memorize every part of his face. He wasn't human anymore. Not completely, but she still saw the one she saved. The one who remembered her voice when he'd forgotten everything else. You said the system can read your mind. She whispered, double quotes, yes. Then it'll know what you're planning, Kale nodded. That's why I'm not planning anything. Just walking in. The rebels waited near the city edge. Kale's crew, broken but ready. They had one job, buy him enough time. Once Kale stepped inside the tower's mine core, every connected Thoraxian unit on Earth would feel it. Some would shut down, some would go wild, and some, the ones built like him, would have a chance to break free. Maybe if he succeeded, if he survived. Kale took a step toward the ship's door. Wait, Lyra said. He turned. She reached into her coat and pulled out something small. A necklace, a charm, worn, dirty, a piece of the past. It was made from the first part of armor. She pulled off his body in the tunnel. 5 years ago, she placed it in his hand. To remind you who you were, she said. Kale closed his fist around it and nodded. The ship flew low into the city. Fires burned quietly in the streets. No people. No life. Only watchers in the sky, silent black drones drifting like insects. The rebels split off, moving through broken alleys, setting small charges on buildings, distractions. Kale and Lyra moved straight toward the tower. It got bigger with every step. Closer. Louder. More alive. At the base. A gate opened for Kale. No alarms. No resistance. It wanted him inside. He turned to Lyra. This is where you stop. No, he shook his head. It's not your fight anymore. It was never just mine, she said. But I'm still standing. He didn't smile. He just looked at her deeply, like he was still searching for something human inside himself. I won't come back the same, he warned. Then come back better. Inside the tower, the walls pulsed with light. Kale walked slowly, his body syncing with the strange rhythm. The air was warm, almost like a heartbeat. A voice echoed in his head, deep, metallic, alien. You are one of us. Why resist? Kale didn't answer. He reached the core. A sphere of pure energy hovered in front of him, spinning, changing, speaking without words. Lyra stood behind him, at the edge. The voice whispered again. You brought her. Your weakness. Kale closed his eyes. And stepped forward. Outside. The city shook. The tower screamed. Drones fell from the sky like dying birds. Thoraxian. Machines froze mid-step. Others turned against each other, confused, panicked. The rebels shouted, some crying as they watched the impossible happen. The system was breaking, inside. Lyra screamed his name. Kale stood in the middle of the storm, his body flickering with light as if burning from the inside. The core was trying to fight him, trying to rewrite him, trying to erase her memory from his mind. But he held on. To her voice. To the charm. To the choice she once made. And he let go. The explosion wasn't fire. It was light, bright, silent, endless. And then darkness. Hours later, Lyra woke outside the tower, alive. Alone. The tower was gone. just a black scar in the earth where it used to stand. No sound. No sign of Kale, only dust and wind. She walked for days. Back to the ruins. Back to the place where everything began. One night she found a message carved into the side of the old tunnel. I came back. Just not the same, she smiled through tears, because somehow he was still out there, changed, broken, maybe even watching, but free.